Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Realtor Mindset. I'm your host, Vincent DiMello. Welcome. Today's economic update. The Fed is meeting this week. They're meeting this Wednesday to discuss the possibility of lowering interest rates. I know I've been talking about this all year, about the Fed meeting and possibly lowering interest rates, which would be their first lowering of interest rates, I believe, in 3 or 4 years since COVID, since we saw the rates go down. And then they came back up in 2022. So this could help the real estate market. But there has been a lot of speculation by economists that if they do drop the rates 0.25% this Wednesday when they're meeting, that price is already built into the marketplace. We may see a lowering of rates September. I know I've been saying this all year again, but I'll never predict which way rates are going, but there's been a lot of talk about more talk, let's just say, than recent months about the lowering of interest rates. We've seen a topsy-turvy week last week. The beginning of the week, the market did love the idea or the statement by Chairman Powell of the Fed that we may begin to lower interest rates. The market loved that. We saw 30-year fixed interest rates dip down to about the mid 6% range. And then towards the end of the week, there was speculation that they won't raise interest, that they won't lower interest rates. So the long-term 30-year fixed rates went up to like high 6% range or even 7% range based upon, depending upon what your credit score is. So as far as inventory is concerned, there is a shortage of inventory still, and there are still properties going for over asking price, less than we've seen the beginning of this summer. And we are seeing some houses go for below asking price, which is pretty interesting, seeing that we're possibly a little bit more of a stabilizing market. Fingers crossed, we'll see. But we definitely need more inventory for that, that's for sure. The mortgage delinquency rate is creeping up on us. It's been at an all-time low, which is 1%. So it's creeping above the 1% range, which means for every 100 mortgages that are out there, 99 are paid on time. So that's huge because it does not indicate that we're in some sort of a bubble, because the big bubble in 2008, the Great Recession, was predicated by mortgages that were given to people that did not qualify to buy the home. They were given to people that could not afford the monthly payment, and as a result, there was a snowball effect where these people could not afford the monthly payments. Some of these loans were adjustable rate mortgages where the interest rates actually went up on them, their payments went up. That caused a surge of delinquent mortgages, bank closures, banks started to fail, unemployment was on the rise, and it was just a snowball effect where more people encountered unemployment and more people went delinquent on their mortgages, and there was a lot more inventory and a lot less buyers, a lot less demand because a lot less people could qualify for mortgages. So that kind of unwound itself. I don't think we'll ever see that again. I hope not. But based on what I've been seeing in the last 14 years or so, 15 years, that all mortgages are qualified, where people are having to show that they can afford the monthly payments. And yes, the guidelines are as stringent as I've ever seen still to this day, which is a good thing in some effect as far as the securitization of mortgages and them performing in the market. So that's it on the economic update. I want to talk to real estate agents about commissions and sellers concessions. So basically, as we're fully aware of the NAR settlement, which states that when an agent takes a listing, sells a house, they cannot input how much they were giving out to the buyer's agent. So it could be a certain percentage they're still giving to the buyer's agent, but they cannot list that on the multiple listing system. So traditionally, when an agent takes a listing and they sell a house, let's say they take it for 6%, 6% of the price, 3% of the price goes to the listing agent, the agent that's representing the seller, 3% goes to the buyer's agent, the agent representing the buyer. So that's not going to be displayed on the multiple listing system anymore. So there will be situations where a buyer's agent is going to take out buyers to show them properties. Some properties will have buyer's agent compensation, and some properties are going to have a big zero on the buyer's agency compensation. Well, what do we do in that instance? And my suggestion for all you agents out there is to have your disclosures signed up front. Make sure that you have an agreement in place signed by the buyer, stating to the buyer, look, listen, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of houses today. Some of these houses are going to have compensation by the listing agent. Some of them will not. In the case that they will not, I can structure a deal together where you can get a seller's concession. Now, the seller's concession is not going to really compensate the agent directly. So it's a bit of a wash here where I'm going to explain this. Let's say you offer $300,000 on a property, and you build in a 3% seller's concession to build in your commission. So you're going to increase the price 3%. That 3% is going to be taken off the top of the purchase price and delivered to the buyer for closing costs. It can only be used for closing costs when you're taking out a mortgage. So in this form of a seller's concession where a buyer's agent is not compensated, the deal must be put together with the agents that the seller is offering the price to the buyer plus a 3% incentive to pay for their closing costs. Okay, and as we know here in New York, closing costs are higher than anywhere else in the country. When that is accomplished, what I would suggest we do is reach out to your buyer and say, listen, I negotiated this deal. We have contracts in place. You're getting a 3% seller's concession. In lieu of this concession, I'm going to ask that you write me a check for the real estate commission. So there's going to be a lot more legalities as far as this is concerned coming down the pike, but that is one way to ensure that you get paid, and it's perfectly legal. And it's a way that we can make sure that you agents are going to be compensated for all your hard work. You're going to be negotiating. You're going to be helping them sign contracts. You're going to be meeting with inspectors, appraisers, etc. The final walkthrough. And when we get to the closing table, sometimes there's something that pops up from the final walkthrough, as we all know. So I'm not really telling you the stuff you don't know, but if you have any questions on how to structure a deal with a seller's concession, by all means, please call me, DM me. I'd love to assist you because I want to make sure that everyone gets paid for all their hard work, despite what happened with the settlement that really hurt our industry a little bit. Really, I don't think it's really helped us. I think it's hurt us, but I think we're going to persevere like we always do. And like I said, we're in the middle of a case study, so a lot of this will be sorted out in the end. So thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. I love each and every one of you. Have an amazing day.